And on today's episode, we're discussing vegan beer, wine, and Champagne, or Champagne, depending on your region.
Oh, are you guys like us? Do you say unusual pronunciations in your head for certain words? Like champagne is not champagne to us. We just had this whole conversation.
Champagne, Bologna, and Scramps. That was I heard growing up, so I
Yes,
call them
yes.
that. You had another one for
Ah,
lingerie, I think.
yes, lingerie. Can't
Lingerie.
say lingerie, just can't.
I never said lingerie. That's
So
that's that's new.
it is, I know. All right, so we're talking about vegan beer, vegan wine, and champagne. I
Champagnes.
am more of a wine drinker as we start this conversation. I'm not really much of a drinker in general, but more of the wine. So I'm excited for this episode to talk about why some beer, wine, and champagne is not vegan, what to look for, and some of the options that are out there. And we're recording at 10
Yes.
a.m., you guys, and we have liqueur with us. I have wine in a glass.
Also, this is our inaugural actual video recording.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So we've done some episodes on like tasting episodes, things like that, fruits,
Mhm.
and like we actually done a couple of we did one alcohol one we did with the mixed drinks, which
Yeah,
we
we
have more
did.
planned. We have a couple more planned.
Yeah.
Those will get videoed, but we're like, hey, let's actually do recording of the actual show. So this is our first actual show recording. I'm doing some fancy
Yay.
edits. So if you're listening to the podcast version of this, come check out the video, see
That's
how
right.
terrible I am also video editing as well as audio.
You're wonderful.
I have
Oh gosh.
issues. Not all of them not all of them are based on editing, but yes, we're at 10
Oh,
a.m. with you guys, and we're gonna
yeah.
partake in some drinks as we
Wine,
discuss. I have wine
beer.
and beers. I have two
Ooh.
beers. So,
I was
but
supposed to get champagne, but I ended up finding two wines I wanted instead. So whatever. And we
whatever.
will talk about them in a minute. All right, let's talk about why some of these alcoholic beverages are not vegan. Ooh, look at David's pretty bottle, everybody.
I will show
So
we'll show pictures.
nice. Okay, so let's talk about beer first. So, why is some beer not vegan? So, a lot of these kind of follow the same path where they add in some kind of non-vegan ingredients to help with like filtering and fining the alcohol. So with beer, it's I always say this word wrong. What's that? Is in glass?
Isinglass. Yeah.
Okay, I knew I was wrong. And gelatin can be added. They also use whey, lactose, and honey sometimes in beer. I've seen a lot of beer with honey in it, so that's definitely an issue. But they add things in to make the beer better, per se, but not for us. There are a lot of non vegan options that are just as delicious. I always find it, we talk about how there's milk in everything, and you
Yeah.
get so frustrated as
Why is there milk
vegans.
in this?
Why is there milk in beer? It just makes me angry.
I helped a friend of mine, her daughter, over the weekend, and their daughter wanted they're vegan, and her daughter wanted chips, and she was like, I was like, okay, let's check if there's dairy in chips first.
Always, always, for no freaking reason.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So there is a lot of like milk stouts, sour beers that have a bit of whey or lactose in them. And again, there's a lot of honey in beer as well. So they use certain agents to make the beer a little bit different, and those things make it not vegan. It's a lot easier to find a vegan beer than it is to find a vegan wine,
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add about beer, or can we
Yeah.
go to wine?
No. God. We just go to what I like because
I hate the beer.
see, I like wine, but I'm also more of a beer liquor person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's wine definitely has much more animal process in it.
Yes.
Beer doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found, if unless it says like honey whatever or milk this or dairy, if it's specified, usually you're okay with beer. Not all the time, especially with
Right.
sours. Sours will sometimes use a milk based enzyme to get that kind of sour bitterness to it. So double check. Typically microbreweries, local breweries, they're usually okay. Not all the time. Always
Yeah.
check. We use Barnivore for checking these things.
I was just going to mention that
Yeah,
Barnivore is the
it's
best.
fantastic. I actually would love to get a hold of an API and like really make something with their API for that.
Hmm.
Or like their web the web application is amazing.
Hmm.
I would like to. I'm gonna reach out to them and say, hey, can we like do something
Teaching
here?
assistants.
But Barnivore's really great. Always ask the especially if you're a local brewery, ask the bartender. They'll know everything about the beers, or they can
Yes.
ask. They have like a list of ingredients they can find out. Um, but yeah. So and there's typically and obviously there's yeast involved in this and all these processes, bacterias. Vegans don't usually consider single cell organisms like that because they don't have for one they don't have a nervous system to be concerned about.
Right. Hmm.
You're covered in and you consume bacteria and yeast constantly all the time
All
anyway.
the
We don't
time.
consider that part of an issue in the vegan diet. So people ask, well, how's beer like not vegan? It's just beer. It's just like grains and stuff. And again, it's the process, it's the filtering, it's the gelatin, it's the dairy and the honey gets used in these
Right.
processes at times.
Exactly.
But wine even more so.
Yes. So when it comes to wine, it's so I think this is probably the most shocking thing I learned when I went vegan. Besides obviously the things that are done to animals, but like when it comes to a product that I just assumed was vegan, when I found out that some wine is what are they called? Filtered through the swim bladder of a fish,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, why? Like, just why? It's
Yeah.
so, not even to mention the other things we're about to talk about that's, makes a wine not vegan. I was so repulsed. And then I kept thinking, like, what if you are allergic to seafood and you don't know this is like a process of wine? Would you have like an allergic reaction?
I
I've
don't know.
always wondered
That's
that.
interesting. I never thought about that.
I don't know if
I
there'd
don't
be
know. I don't
enough
know the
in there
answer.
to cause a reaction, or maybe like you have a little reaction, but you think it's just because I drank too much wine. But
Yeah, that's a
really,
good
it's
question.
because yeah, I've always
Check into
wondered
that.
that because it's just such a gross thing to add in there. So wine also has one of four animal proteins if it's a non-vegan wine, or yeah, that's right. Egg whites, gelatin, casein, or that is isinglass. I
That's a
just
glass.
my
Yeah.
brain says that word so wrong. So last night we went, my husband and I, to get some wine and beer, and he kept seeing egg whites mentioned on things. And he was like, what is this? And I was like, dude, that's like very common nowadays. Like
Yeah.
that is just a part of a lot of drinks. I have a lot of TikTok followers that are just like liquor and wine and beer accounts, which is weird because I'm not even a drinker, but I follow them and they make a lot of egg white drinks. And I was just like, it's the most disgusting thing. Why would you want an egg white in drink? Oh,
It makes it creamy. It's used a lot in sour liquor drinks, but you can actually use aquafaba instead for a
yes,
vegan option. Yeah.
yes.
Sorry, I doing that.
We were just talking about this. There is a show on Netflix right now called, I think it's Drink Masters or something like that. And they are making fancy drinks. Each round is a different kind of competition. And they did one where they used egg whites. Well, there is a vegan on the show and she used aquafaba.
Mm.
And I was like,
Hmm.
yes.
You
And
didn't
she
tell me
did
that
great.
part.
I was very excited for her. So like they didn't like automatically hate her drink, Every time there's a vegan on a non-vegan show, there's like they're just hated for what they put out. But they still loved her drink. And I was like, look at that. See, don't have to use your disgusting egg whites.
That's right. Like I was like, oh, this is great. You taste amazing. Is this lettuce? Oh, that is vegan. It's nasty. I'm like, hey, you're an asshole. Like you just know. It's
Oh
like
my
here, taste this apple.
gosh.
This apple's really good. It's vegan too. Oh, I knew it tasted weird.
No, no.
No sir.
Oh my
No sir.
gosh. All right. So there's a lot of wine that you need to check and make sure is not used with a bladder of a fish, doesn't have egg whites, gelatin, or any of the other non-vegan options. And like David said, barnivore.com is a great app, website, whichever, that you can check. It's just for wine, beer, and like champagne and liquor and stuff. It has nothing to do with food. It is just one where you can check and see if that wine is vegan. And I used it last night because one of the wines I have today, any wine from this brand from 2019 and more recent is vegan. Anything before 2019 is not vegan. So that was
Oh,
very helpful. Like they changed their practices
nice.
apparently. So I was like, well, thank you, Barnivore. Like that's very helpful because I would have just walked right past it. But so very helpful website. You should definitely check that out. Let's talk about champagne.
Champagnes.
I'm not a big champagne girl,
Champagne.
but my best friend Melissa loves champagne. Just absolutely loves it. I'm definitely having some mimosas on Thanksgiving per my 21-year-old daughter's request. Thanksgiving changes when your children are adults, and now they ask for liquor instead of a side. I'm just like, what do you want for Thanksgiving that's different? She goes, mimosas. Okay. That sounds great. So we do need to learn about some champagne so I can have some as well. So let's see, what did you have in here? Same thing as the other ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, except there's carmine, which are dried beetles.
Yeah.
And then there's also, oh my gosh, say that word, chitosan.
Sure.
Chitosan.
Sure. There's some words in here I can't say either, so we're gonna keep on
Oh my
rolling with it.
gosh. Okay, guys, just give us some slack. These are funky words. Chitosan is made from crustaceans. That's disgusting. Ew. So oh, there's bugs all up in the champagne.
Yeah,
Nope.
it's all part of
Nope.
the processing and coloring and just all part of that process. So you have to be actually champagne is wine. It's actually
Right.
actually we're gonna get into the types. 'Cause that's like my thing, like all the me guys, like the details and like the minutiae of
Yeah.
everything. That's like my vibe, right? So I'm gonna get into types. And now when as we go to types, I'm gonna partake.
Oh,
I'm
yay.
sure you can see on video. Got a couple options here. Also, this is my office. And
Yes.
that is Meg's husband's office.
This is my husband's office. He is the New York Jets fan. I mean, I am too. Oh God, he's gonna kick my ass. He is from upstate New York, just so I can
Falcons,
explain
Dirty Birds.
that.
I mean, we lose every game, but why not? Um,
Hey, this is
but
the first year I'm not ashamed. The Jets are freaking amazing this year.
I mean, if you're ashamed of the Falcons and whenever they lose, you just would always live that way. So you just kind of
Yes,
take the L's.
that is
There's so many of them.
true.
When we made it like the Super Bowl, we're like, really?
Are you sure?
I don't know. Somebody screwed up somewhere. Anyway, but yeah,
Oh,
it's I
good.
mean, especially wines are very hard to find. I spend more time hunting for a vegan wine
Me
than
too.
anything else. So champagnes are going to fall in the same vein
Hmm.
of how wines are made. There's a bit of a process because wines are also sparkling. They have some bubbly to them,
Hmm.
and some different sweetness and drynesses. So
All right. So we've talked about why some of these drinks are not vegan. So I'm going to talk about the wines that I picked before we get into the different types of liquor. So I went to a local place called, oh gosh, Hops, Hops something in Vino. I can't remember what it is now, but they had Jam Jar, which is a beautiful white wine. This is a sweet wine from 2019, and this is the company that changed their processes. So
oh,
anything after
I love
2019 is
labels.
vegan. So I got a 2019 one. Or 2019 and later is vegan. So that's what I got for that one because I like sweet white wines. I'm very picky. And then we found an entire section, like a little area
Mm.
of the liquor store that had what they called like healthier wine options. And I was like, what's that? So I looked
Oh
closer,
yes.
and every one of the bottles said vegan. Every one of them on the label, which is also unheard of. That is so rare. So I have this simple grape, and I love this logo. Look, David. Some of the grapes are cut out so the wine makes the
Oh, that
color.
is cool.
It's really
I
cute.
like that.
And it
That's fun branding. I
says,
love good branding.
right, zero sugars, 2.5 carbs per serving, gluten free, 100% vegan, certified sustainable, all natural, and 13.5. Ooh, baby. It's a Pinot Grigio. So those are the two wines I got. I probably would have gotten more because I was so excited to find a little vegan section. I was like so stoked. But then my husband like popped over with like a $30 bottle of bourbon or something, and I was like, well, I guess I'll control myself and I'll only get two. It's
Fine.
crazy.
Mess it all up for the rest of us.
All right, what did you get? So then we can start talking about the different
Okay.
kinds.
So for those watching, because this kind of gets hidden in the audio, if you see me looking around a lot, it's because I'm also like editing and updating things like that. So I'm
Right.
gonna be kind of like the moving around guy. So I apologize for that. We don't have producers to handle this for us.
Of
Maybe one
course not.
day.
We're not fancy.
Maybe one day. Maybe if we get if you guys watch and if you guys view, we get sponsorships. We can get a producer. That'd be kind
There
of
you go.
cool. So for wine, I got this Chateau Smith
So
Cabernet
pretty.
Sauvignon. I'm gonna say names wrong. It's saying weird because I don't know how to pronounce half of them. It is 2018 for Washington State. Chet Barnavore. All of their wines are vegan. They
Good.
have another one that has like the label looks like a it says CS, looks like a chemistry label.
Love it.
Really good, but I wanted to try this
I
one.
love that label. It's
Um,
so simple, but it looks so like vintagey
oh, it's
too.
great. Yeah, it's kind of like a old
It's
scroll
that
type of
font
type
killing
of
me.
thing.
So pretty.
Um, come watch the video. You can see the labels. They're really cool. I think you should like. Here's the thing about labels. Before I go to the beers I got, everyone's like, you shouldn't buy wine based on the label. You shouldn't buy the book based on the cover. I must well disagree.
I do too.
I feel as if it's, that might have been true back in the day, right?
Right.
I think now when it comes to books and wine, again, you can at me, please do leave a review while you do. Um, also, click the follow link below, subscribe and follow, so you can click that bell so you can know when to post more videos.
Love you.
This might turn into some TikToks as well. Gonna get crazy with it. But I think if you think the when I think a manufacturer or a publishing company or anything like that puts work into the label, they're putting work into their product. So
Yes,
if
I
it's
agree.
a nice, attractive label, it's going to bring you in. That means they put effort into the actual marketing, the production of the
Hmm.
actual labels. They put work in actual into the product.
I
That
agree.
I found instances where that's not correct. Most of the
Right.
time, that seems to follow. Anyway, so Chateau Smith Cabernet Sauvignon, 2018, Washington State. Also, so I got two beers we're gonna go over as we go through. I'll put these up as we
Ooh.
go through the types.
Right. Okay.
This is a pontoon brewing, crushing waves Georgia Weiss. It's actually a
I
wheat beer.
love that bottle
It's
or
like
can. Excuse
it's
me.
it's because I like local brew, local and small because they use like these
Hmm.
very generic kind of cans with their own labels, little sticker.
Right.
So it's
Hmm.
really nice. Also like the very monochromatic.
I do too. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
And we have some really good local breweries
Oh my God, that is.
in Georgia. If you ever heard of Sweetwater 420, then that's
Yeah.
that's Georgia based.
I got there's like three around me. It's awesome. And I got a Guinness foreign extra stout. I
Ooh,
wanted to do local and more international. So
wow.
this for I love Guinness. So
You do.
thing about Guinness is they used to use I think it was isinglass and I think they had dairy at one point in theirs.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
I think they actually have a milk version too. But they actually announced like 8 9 years ago something like that.
Yeah, a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that they were switching to a non animal based process. The bottled in cans for a while still were non vegan, but anything that
Hmm.
was actually came out of the actual like kegs that was shipped to actual breweries and bars were shifted over, and at this point everything's been basically the market had to deplete as they shipped
Yeah,
out new. So
right.
now the
Hmm.
market's completely gone of the animal based filtering options. So all Guinness are now vegan.
That's amazing. Good
So
job, Guinness.
thank you very much, Guinness.
All right, let's talk about some types of wine, champagne, and liquor and beer. We added liquor to this little section, which I think is awesome. All right, let's talk about champagne first. So it's essentially sparkling wine, like we said. It comes from the Champagne region in France. And it's fermented under pressure, creating CO2, which makes it all bubbly and all of that. Just, I wish I loved champagne. It just seems like such a fun thing to drink.
It tickles the
Just,
nose.
just it's not my fave. It's not my fave. Um, Okay, so the amount of sugar determines if it's sweet or dry, which is also the same when it comes to wine as well. So non-vintage, there's plenty of blends of grapes from different years. There's all kinds of, oh, look at David pouring his wine. Ooh, such a satisfying video. So pretty. All right, so there's Blanc de Blancs. Did I say that right? 100% Chardonnay champagne. Ooh, I like that. That sounds good. Blanc de Noirs
Uh,
has black grapes. Now that's what I'm talking about. Give me some of that. I want that because that's gonna be pretty too.
I think it's
Like
Noir. It's French.
whatever. Little like a color. Even though I love white wine, like a color makes it so much prettier to me. Like I don't know why. These just look like basic, like I'm drinking water, but it's the only flavors I like. I don't like anything dark, but I like the color of them. Makes me want to drink them. There's the rosé, which is a red white mix, obviously. I almost got a rosé champagne last night, but again, got swayed by these white wines and didn't do it. There is the vintage single year grapes. And then there's Prestige Cuvée, which produces a premium range, so like fancy kind. So there's tons of options. I wonder if Melissa's favorite champagne is vegan. I'm gonna have to find out
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
she likes a an option that's like it's expensive. It's like one of the most expensive champagnes out there, but she gets it for her birthday every year. And now I'm curious if it's an option I can try because I always wonder why she loves that one so much, and I've never tried it before. So now I'm gonna have to find out. And I know it's a
Let me
rosé
know.
one too. So pretty. Love it. I know, fancy.
Fancy's Mancy.
But I am getting a champagne probably in the next few days because we're doing the mimosas for Thanksgiving. So this is going to be very helpful. So I can pick one that is an option I can have.
Mm.
I don't think my daughter's going to have a preference. She's only 21.
You don't have one yet.
Nope, not yet.
When you get into your like mid-30s, you're like, I like this type of liquor, I like this type of wine, I
Yeah.
like this type of this, and then everybody can just go to hell. Yeah.
I will say when you're in your 20s, you're also kind of known for a certain kind of drink. So my daughter is known for tequila. She loves tequila, as all 21-year-olds do until a certain point. Until a certain point, and then
Yeah,
you're not going
that's
to
true.
anymore.
Mine was Jaeger.
Oh,
Jaeger and peppermint schnapps.
oh no.
I was a typical college guy, like do some Jaeger, and then like when I get hammered, I would do peppermint schnapps, sip on that as I went through
I
the night.
see me holding my chest. You
Yeah,
feel like I'm burning already.
I didn't
No.
have very very discernible tastes back then by any stretch.
Holy crap, that's a lot. Okay. All right, since we're already talking about liquor, let's go into the liquor section. So David added a whole section about liquor, which I think is pretty awesome because we didn't even mention that in the beginning. So you can talk.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of these types, it's basically to talk about what they are, so you have a better understanding. So as you're selecting your vegan option, you know what you're looking for, and especially flavors and context. Liquor is the result of distilling already fermented alcohol made from grain, fruits, vegetables, and sugar. So a lot of times you may have an alcohol that's like wine, and it gets fermented to something else, as an example.
Right. Mhm.
So basically, you make a really concentrated like fermentation. You distill the alcohol off of that fermentation.
Right.
Okay.
Which is such an interesting thing. I feel like people don't understand that that's how liquor is made.
Right. People just like, oh,
Um,
you just like it's like wine. You take like corn and you just make liquor. No, it's like
right.
you ferment and then you distill and then you get it.
Literally,
Yeah, and
yeah.
people say like moonshine and they make you go blind. Well, it's because and then this is not even part of the types. What happens is do you actually have methanol that comes off
Hmm.
distillation first? You basically have to test that and
Yep.
get the methanol out. That will kill you, and then the rest is
Hmm.
ethanol. So that's what we're going for.
My husband brews his own homemade moonshine. He has a still and everything. So I know way too much about moonshine, literally way too much. But he does have like jars of the things from the beginning, but we can use that as like rubbing alcohol. He
Yeah,
literally keeps it. He's like, if you need anything to like clean anything off, I got it. And I was like, oh,
just don't
scary.
drink this.
No, don't drink it.
Yeah.
So scary.
And for those playing on the video version, we actually have a little list going, so we can actually read what we're talking about, as
There you
opposed to just trying to remember it.
go.
Like notes of show notes.
There you go.
So back to out of my rant to the original rant. Your type of fermentation base determines your type of liquor, especially what you start with determines the type of liquor. And some liquors can be non-vegan based on the barrels they use, some additives such as honey. Liquor typically is a good safe bet. Very
Right.
rarely. There are some that are aged in like wine barrels and things like that. Sometimes those wines. There's one that I used to love called Angel's Envy. That actually got me back
Ooh,
into liquor. I loved it. It was my favorite.
what a great
But
name.
yeah, because they're actually a lot of like wines are aged in liquor barrels, like port,
Hmm.
like different whiskey type barrels. Angel's Envy is the reverse. It's whiskey that's aged in port wine barrels. But those they use different ones. A lot of times those aren't vegan, so not an option. So be mindful. But liquor widely is okay. Always check, but it's very rare you'll find a liquor that doesn't qualify as a vegan
It's
option.
usually the mixers you add to your liquor that
Right,
makes things not vegan.
right,
So always remember that.
and those will usually have a name into them,
Right.
like honey whatever, or like milk
Hmm.
this or dairy that. Though actually, they usually will have it in there as part of like that because they're usually very simple in their production, and then they add to them to give them flavors.
Right.
Um,
I'm going to add a tiny little note here.
oh
If you hear any weird sounds in the background, it's because I have a dog in the room and he can't control himself.
yes,
So please excuse me.
and since I have such a wide view, if you hear or see anything,
Oh,
I have monsters.
yes.
Um,
At some point, you'll see a pretty black cat behind
oh
David's
yeah,
head for
here's
sure.
a appear right there, or I'll
I
have like a
love it.
black or white dog that'll come here. So we talked about like shutting the animals out. We're like they're part of the family, they're part of the group,
Yes,
and also they
yes.
freak out. They're not near us, so
Yeah,
let's not allow
exactly.
that.
But I can hear him chewing on a toy,
Yeah,
so I'm assuming you all can too. Sorry.
it's not. I don't hear it picked up, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Um,
good.
so
All right,
uh,
back to liqueur.
so whiskey is like a generic term. It's typically either Scotch is from Scotland, and bourbon is not. That's really, and again,
Okay.
you can be most likely. I know there are nuances to this. Well, technically, but if it's in Asia or Japanese or is it Canadian, the general consensus
General.
is Scotch is Scotland whiskey. Everything else is bourbon. You have
Interesting.
Japanese bourbon, you have a Kentucky bourbon, you have Canadian bourbon, there's
Interesting.
all kinds of things that happen, all kinds of different flavor profiles. We're being very general in our terminology. Although
Right.
this will be 3.5 hours long, and it is Sunday, and I have things to do. Um, whiskey, and liquor, unlike some other things, liquor is very like specific and like what you have to call it. You can't be like this is bourbon.
Yes,
No,
that's true.
like there are rules. Okay.
Hmm.
So whiskey, it has to be 51% corn mash,
Ooh,
and the
interesting.
rest can be other grains. That's going to change its flavor profile. Okay.
Okay.
It's always aged in oak, and that's primarily. I think it has to be 125 proof as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very high proof. Um, but that's the rules: 51% corn, and aged in oak, certain percentage of a certain proof percentage, and that's the rules. And you're gonna have differences in flavor profiles based on whatever makes up the other 49%.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and your color, a lot of these liquors come out clear. All these come out clear because ethanol is clear, and
Oh,
their
that's true,
color
right.
comes from their age. Because the
Oh.
barrels they actually char the inside, and they usually you use oak. Some liquors use different types of aging, but
Mhm.
that will usually disqualify them being called certain types of liquors that they would usually go under.
Interesting. Look at me learning all kinds of
Crazy
stuff.
stuff. You have bourbon. I'm sorry. You have brandy is our next one.
Ooh.
List. You have brandy. Brandy is actually essentially wine. It starts out as wine,
Okay.
so it's actually a fruit liquor. So you make wine and you distill the alcohol out of the wine.
Oh,
That's what brandy is, and it is also aged in oak.
interesting.
Yeah. So any distilled fruit liquors like alcohols, distilled wines is a brandy,
Okay. Interesting.
and typically it also but because it's distilled down, it has a higher alcohol content than a wine.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna lose some. It's gonna have some of its notes, but it's gonna lose some of the notes because you're taking the wine out of the
I
wine.
don't know that
But
I've ever had brandy.
it's usually considered like a kind of a
Fancy.
higher, fancier because basically
Right.
it's wine that's been distilled.
Right. That makes it so much fancier.
Right. You have
Okay.
then you have we have vodka. Vodka is a combo of
Woo.
cereals and potatoes. Most people know it associated to Russia and
Yep.
potatoes with Russia. Vodka is not aged, so it goes from distillation. It may be aged a little bit in the part of distillation, but it's not aged in barrels. It stays clear, and it's also I'm sure
Right.
you've seen like apple vodka and things like that. It's also
Yes.
usually added with other flavors and juices stuff like that to give it different flavorings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, vodka is very much smells like rubbing alcohol. Yeah. So also there's between top and bottom shelf. Like I can't drink like bottom
Yes.
shelf vodka; it makes me sick. But top shelf, I'm like I can sip on this. This is nice. I would see like things like how people like just like get vodka on the rocks. I'm like how can you drink that? And I realized because I had crap vodka in college.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Um.
I have to pause for 1 second.
Oh, we're gonna
I
pause.
do.
Okay. So we're taking a quick break, and we will be right back.
I'm back.
All right, and here we are. We have returned. Um, our next on the list is rum. So rum is not made with.
I've only had rum in like rum balls.
Oh, okay. I like rum. Rum's actually pretty good,
I mean, I've had like
depending on.
Bacardi, but I don't really, I don't know, for some reason I don't consider that rum.
Yeah,
But like
it
I
is.
remember my grandmother making those rum balls where the whole house smells like it, and then she'd let me have one. I'm like, I'm not gonna get drunk off your rum balls,
Yeah,
lady, but you could.
we had rum and eggnog. I think that was like
Oh,
our
that would be good.
that was
Yeah,
our,
I
that was our
hate
thing
eggnog
growing up.
though,
Is
but
eggnog,
yeah.
non-vegan eggnog, but now I'll give you eggnog. So rum is not made with any type of grain. It's made with sugar or molasses.
Okay.
Usually associated with the Caribbean, because well, for horrible reasons. That's where a lot of sugar cane comes from. But
Yeah.
also, it's where a lot of terrible things happened.
Yes.
Um,
Awful.
so you have light rum. Usually it's
Yes.
clear. That is not aged. That is distilled. And all alcohols are watered down because otherwise it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it is not aged. Dark is aged in oak barrels, and you also may get spiced rums that are like mold. Like when they're fermented, they're also mulled with other spices.
Yes.
Uh,
That's what I remember.
and you also may get them. You also may get them flavored with like pineapple and things
Ooh,
like that.
yes. Hmm.
I like putting rum in pineapple kombucha.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's
You
really
got me
good. It's like
right
a little
there.
Caribbean
That
kind
sounds
of. It's a fun
delicious.
little. It is. It's really fun. A couple shots of that. Nice.
Good to go. Healthy. We're being
That's
healthy.
it, man. Little. It's good for the gut. Um, don't call me on that. Next is gin. Gin actually isn't any type of distilled alcohol. It's not actually distilled from something. Gin is actually infused clear liquor that's already in existence. So typically they take vodka and they infuse it with juniper
Okay.
and other botanicals, but juniper is the primary infusion. Uh, to me, like I never really had gin until like super recently. I had a gin at like
Right.
I was at a concert and someone was like, "You want a drink?" I'm like, give me a cocktail. Let's do something crazy." And they're like, they started listening to Apple's like, no, no, no. They go gin tonic. I was like, I never had one of those. That sounds good. Let's try it. And I was like, this is delicious when it hits my lips. Um, it smells like Christmas to
Yes.
me. It smells
Yes.
like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll smell gin, but warm fuzzies.
Just a
Uh,
little sniff.
little sniff of gin. But it's actually
Oh,
it is not
God.
aged. It's never aged. They take a clear alcohol, almost not always, but almost always vodka, and they infuse juniper and botanicals into it. That's where you get gin.
That's so interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I've only taken a sip of gin once, and I won't tell that story because it's rude, but you know the story.
Yeah.
But I hated it. Like I wanted to like spit it out because it was so overpowering and so strong. But I like the fact that it's infused with juniper and botanicals. Like I never would have known that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get another try
Give it a shot.
when
I,
it's not straight.
right, and it's usually mixed with like vermouth to make a martini.
Oh,
Um,
yes, yes.
you can do different. You can do
Mm,
different. You can do dry and
that's true.
and sweet
That's
sweet vermouths
true.
like that. But yeah, and also I would say for most people, you don't like a certain liquor, it's probably because you had a mid or low shelf version.
It's true.
Get a high, more expensive, but try a higher shelf. It's something you may like if you're into into drinking like that, obviously.
Right.
And next is tequila. It is actually the heart of the agave plant that's baked and juiced.
My face just now.
I saw
So
it
gross.
baked and juiced. You have silver or white, which is not aged. Gold has sweetness added sometimes. Or sometimes it's colored. They actually will add caramels and stuff like that to color it. Or it's silver mixed with aged. Because again, all alcohol is clear, and it's anything that's not clear has either been colored, which purists will be like, that's not really the real thing, or it's either clear, not aged, dark, been aged. The darker it is, usually either the different type of wood that was used or the longer it's been aged.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
You have with age, you have reposado.
That worked.
Yep. Is aged from 2 to 12 months. Añejo. It's Spanish. I took Spanish a little bit, so I'm trying to do it right. Añejo is aged longer than 12 months, and extra añejo is aged longer than 3 years.
That is fascinating.
Yep. So 1 to 3 añejo, longer than 3 extra añejo. Other than that, it's just anything else age is raspado, and that's
I have to tell Kaylee this, my daughter. She's going to be like, "Ooh, maybe I'll try some fancier ones."
And there are differences
for a while. Yeah,
you can definitely tell the age versus not. So
I like that. All right, let's talk about wine.
And as such, I will start sipping.
That's right. I took 2 sips of mine. So we're talking about white wine, which is what I prefer. They're fermented white grapes, obviously. I have been to a wine place. What are they called? A wine.
I'll let you figure it out.
Up in Dahlonega, they have those like wine places. I don't know.
Vineyard?
There you go. Okay. That's the word. I've been there and it was beautiful. Oh my God, I had so much fun. But the funniest thing is the person I went with, I got the white wine, she got a red wine, and we were like the polar opposites the whole day. We just did it's just completely different. Because if you like a white wine, you prefer that. You don't usually go for a red. You usually have a preference on one side. Mine is white because I like a sweeter wine. I don't like anything that's too heavy. So let's talk. So we have Chardonnay, which is a little bit more citrus, melon, vanilla. It's a little toasty. I love it. I love Chardonnays. They're so good. I love a good melony flavor. So that's a good one for me. Sauvignon Blanc, apple, pear, melon, mango. Again, oh my God.
I heard it.
I want a mango wine so bad right now. It's like all I can think about. Oh, that sounds delicious. Okay, I'm going to say this next word. I can do it. Semillon?
Sure. I think it's Semillon because typically double L. These are all.
But it doesn't have the Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know. I feel like those words. All right.
Typically, double L in other languages have that yes sound, especially in Spanish. I'm doing the Spanish version of it probably. But
okay, so that one is fig and berry. I don't know. I like the fig. I'm not big on the fig. No, I don't think I would like that one. Moscato, I love. Grapefruit. Oh, is that and musky? Ooh.
Yeah, really. I've had Moscato. I was not a fan, and that makes.
I love Moscato, but I hate grapefruit and the word musky.
Yeah, and I think that's why I didn't like it because I was like grapefruit is terrible, and musky just sounds like the gym. And I love the gym, but I don't like the smell of the gym.
I don't like that word at all. It's like how people don't like the word moist, musky. That's not a word I like.
Good to know.
At all.
I'm gonna get you a giant banner. I'm gonna have a green screen muskie behind me next time.
Of course you are, because you're so mean to me. Yep. Oh gosh. Pinot Grigio, aromatic fruity flavors. Love. I have one actually. That's what my simple grape is a Pinot Grigio, which is what I'm sipping right now. Okay, now we're gonna get to this funky German word. Okay.
I want you to say.
I don't even know how to do this.
Remember, W's are like V's.
Okay. Gewürztraminer? Nope. That's not right.
Gewürztraminer.
Okay.
Gewürztraminer.
There you go. That's probably way
Minor.
better.
Gewürztraminer.
We'll have it in the show notes so you guys can see the word. But it's got
And over here.
rose, peaches, lychee, and allspice. That is a crazy combo. I would love to try that. I hate like rose, but the peaches and lychees and allspice, yeah. Let's go.
I'm hunting this one down. I want to try this.
Let's bring it over next time because that one just sounds so interesting. There's Riesling, which is apple based, and I love that flavor as well. It's definitely a fan. This one I have. Oh, it's a Moscato. Okay.
That makes sense.
It doesn't say on the front, and normally, wine will tell you. It just says sweet wine. That's weird. I never even noticed that. But when you look on the back, it tells you it's a Moscato. So I have a Moscato and a Pinot Grigio today. Super delicious.
Super delish.
Very, very good. I love it. It's not too like tart at the end. Like when you finish the sip, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. All right, so that's white wine. We're going to talk about red wine, and this is on David because I don't drink it.
Okay.
At all.
At all.
Ever.
So I like reds. I prefer reds. So whites are usually refrigerated and chilled. Reds are not. Also, Meg is drinking her wine by holding where the wine is and not the stem.
Right,
and that is bullshit. And that is bullshit.
It is. Guess what? Don't care.
It doesn't matter. So
I don't follow rules.
There was all kinds of things of like you shouldn't hold wine by the glass because the warmth from your hand changes the temperature of the wine. That they've tested it. That's not true. It's just this looks fancy.
It does look fancy.
It's straight up. That's all it really is. Holding it here. Is there a temperature change difference? Of course, because your hand has temperature.
Right. But you hold it for like 5 seconds.
Right. Even then, especially if a decent glass, which this is not the best glass, it doesn't matter. But it's most, and people go like, no, it matters because no, it doesn't matter. They literally done experiments with holding it and flavor profiles, and it changes nothing. There is a flavor change if you don't chill white versus non-chilled white. Chilled versus non-chilled does change your flavor.
It does.
But red typically is not chilled where white is. And don't put ice in your wine. If you put ice in your wine, I'll hunt you down. You're watering your wine down. What are you doing? Anyway, so red. Of course, red and your white are based on your grapes. Red grapes. Also, the name of the wine is based on the name of the grape.
Right.
It's not like Merlot is. No, Merlot is a type of grape, right?
Yeah.
Again, there are nuances. Don't get into them. Of course. There's also a bunch of more reds than there are whites.
Yes.
I know this talks red. I was like making this. I was like, I can't talk about all these reds. There's like 30 reds. So Merlot is usually spicy. Is like a fruitcake chocolate kind of a flavor. I'm not a big Merlot fan for some reason. I figured I would be.
That seems like something you would like.
Yeah, I like all reds and different reds, but I'm not a big Merlot. Right. Cabernet Sauvignon. Black currant, cherry, tobacco, and chocolate, which is what this is. I usually like Cabernet.
Okay. Do you really taste the tobacco?
Let's find out.
He was like, "Oh, of course, he didn't take a sip."
A little bit. The smokiness is there.
Okay. All right.
The cherry, the black currant, I like black currant, the chocolate of it.
Yeah, I do too. I like that.
To me, the cherry. Yeah, cherry and tobacco is very subdued, but it's definitely in the back.
Nice.
In the end taste. Shiraz, or also something called Syrah. I like those two. That is black cherry, sweet licorice, and vanilla. I like black licorice. I'm one of those people. So I typically like more of your drier, more bitter wines. I also drink my coffee black, so it's not surprising. I think people who like black coffee also like red wine. I think there's
there's got to be a correlation between that.
Tannins is what really makes that.
Wow, never even thought about that. That's interesting.
Pinot Noir, or as Meg said, Norir.
Ooh, strawberry raspberry.
Yes.
Ooh.
So, Pinot Noir, strawberry, raspberry, and earthy. Those often be a little sweeter on the sweeter side. Malbec, which again I like Malbec, but it's also tobacco, pepper, and vanilla. It's a little drier. It's a little more tannin to it. It's a little more bite. And Zinfandel, blackberry, blackcurrant, raspberry. That tends to be a little sweeter too. People tend.
That's probably the only one I've had that I
I
liked.
was about to say people who like white wine typically like Zinfandels.
Yep.
So if you know someone who's like, I like white, let's try it red. Go for the Zinfandel. It tends to be
Yeah.
sweeter. It tends to be more on the more hits their palate better.
Right.
Um,
Oh goodness. I feel like such a baby because I only like white wine. But listen, I'm not a big drinker in general, so it's a miracle I like any of it, I
that's true.
guess. All right. Speaking of, we're gonna talk about beer, and I freaking hate beer. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Gotta open the beer now.
So when we first moved to Georgia, we made a friend immediately, and he was my instant friend because he liked fruity, girly drinks like I did. And I was like, okay, all the guys are drinking beer, but this one guy is going to drink the girly drinks with me. And he eventually changed to a beer drinker, and I was mad. And I was like, how dare you? And he goes, you just get used to it after a while. I don't need to get used to anything. If I have to
So-
get used to it, it's not my thing. It's not, you're only drinking it because it's cheap. That's the only reason.
So I used to hate beer.
Oh, but you like fancier beers.
I
You don't
do.
like a generic commercialized beer.
Well, I used to hate it, and I got in college. 'Cause I made drink liquor. Liquor and some wine was my thing. And I was
Right.
like, well, as I get older and I graduate and get into the business world, going out for beers with the team or the client or whatever. Because I knew what I was doing for a living. Like since I was like 14 years old, I'm like, I'm doing computer development and doing all this stuff.
Mhm.
So I knew I was moving with clients and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm gonna have to get used to beer,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Because
gonna have
beer
to.
is like a sipping thing, right? Because I know liquor can be too, but I drink. For me, liquor was like I was in college. It's like you shoot that, you don't drink that. That's
Right.
weird, right? So I started drinking like Bud Light because
Ugh,
it's just basically water.
yeah.
Sorry, it's just Bud Light's water. It's weird flavored water. To get me kind of used to it, and then I went to like
Right.
Newcastle and heavier. Now I drink more like stouts and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to hate it and had to get myself used to it because I was like, I'm gonna drink it anyway. Then I got to find flavors that I like.
No, it's not my thing. All right. So beer is fermented malted grains and hops. Types of yeast defines the types of beer in most cases, which also I did not know. So this is you just teach me stuff every episode,
Yeah,
David.
there's really just two types of beers. They're just subcategories under them.
Okay, so we have lagers, which are bottom fermentation. What does that mean?
So the two different types of yeast they use. I didn't get the name of the type of yeast because yeast is just
Okay.
like a bacteria.
Right.
So there's one yeast that ferments at the bottom because all fermentation is just yeast eating sugar and they shit out
Right, right. So
alcohol.
it makes a difference if it's from the bottom or the top.
Correct. So
That's
a lager
cool.
is done at the bottom. It ferments from the bottom up, where an ale is top down.
That's so fascinating.
It's gonna give you different
That it
flavors.
makes a completely different thing.
Right.
Wow.
It's gonna give you different flavors. It's gonna give you different hardiness, different strengths, and stuff like that. Yep.
Do you think that they figured that out on accident?
I
Like it
really
had
want to
to have
dive into
been.
this, man, because it's like beer has been around. Like the Egyptians made beer.
Yes. Yes.
It's also like water was crap, so they usually drink because the fermentation would kill the bacteria, so they would drink
Mhm.
beer instead of water so they wouldn't get dysentery and
Yeah.
die on the Oregon Trail. But yeah, and like even in like like Middle East would mix wine and like alcohols with water to cut it out and try to clarify it to make it less dangerous.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so I would like we had this like really like distillation and fermentation. Like where do they give you like you can go buy yeast.
Right.
You couldn't just like I'm all interested in how they found these yeasts.
That's true.
I'm gonna
That's a good-
I'm gonna deep dive in some ADHD later and find all this out.
Yeah, I want to know too, because I just find that fascinating that like what if they made a mistake one time and they were like, oh well, I guess it's fermenting at the top now.
Yeah, I
Like
think
we
they
didn't do it at the bottom. Let's see what happens. And then they made a completely different liquor.
guarantee. Yeah, that's probably what it is. They just like, oh, this is a new thing. Oh, look what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Like
it was a mistake. Let's see what happens. I
bread
love it.
requires yeast. They've been making bread for a ridiculous amount of time, but how do they feel
Right.
like? Yeah, I don't know. I've
So interesting.
if you guys know, send me some links. I want to know how they found all these yeast and how this worked out. So
Yeah, I'm fascinated. All right, so we're talking about lagers, which are bottom fermentation. There's Pilsner, which is neutral or hard, uses neutral or hard water. That's interesting.
Mhm.
A stout uses unmalted roasted barley. Oh, that sounds so, yeah, that's what you have right
yeah,
there.
this is a
Just-
Guinness is a stout.
Right.
I
It
prefer
sounds so
stouts.
like what's the word I'm looking for? Like comforting almost in a way, like a soothing kind of thing. The roasted part of it, I
It
think,
feels
makes it.
stouts feel like drinking a campfire
Oh, see?
to
Yeah.
me. It's a very bready,
Ooh.
chocolatey. There's also like a thing like you can live on like Guinness is a beer you can live on, has all the nutrients. It doesn't. They tried doing it and you people almost died. Like because they figure out the calories you need in a day, and like here's how much this
Right.
is in a Guinness, and they tried doing the Guinness challenge. It's like you can't. I mean you, but it's like drinking like it almost like drinking a s'more because it's
Oh,
chocolatey and it's
right.
bready and it's heavy. I like stouts because I can
Interesting.
sip on them for a long time because they're really filling. So and
That's
people
very
people tend
cool.
to find stouts in porters more filling and more heavy. So
Yeah. And a porter is roasted brown malts.
yes,
Again, all the roasting. I love that. It
yeah. So
sounds so soothing.
stout is um unmalted, roasted unmalted barleys,
Right.
and porters are roasted malted barleys. So actually,
That's
that's your
so
difference between.
interesting. Right. Again, like I wonder if one time they roasted them and or one time they were malted and one time it wasn't, and like it was a mistake. Again, I'm so fascinated
Oh,
by
it's
how they
straight up like
figure
a.
these things out.
What if we
Yeah.
didn't malt it this time? What would happen? I guarantee
Yeah,
that's
like
what's going
what
on.
would that taste like?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so interesting to me. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about ales, which is top fermentation.
Speaking of ales, hold on,
Um,
I got to hear the crack. Hold on.
there you go. Nice crack. If
Nice.
anyone listens to Wine and Crime, you know where that came from. It's a really great true crime podcast where they open wine at the beginning of every episode. It's really good. Okay, so ales, there's a pale ale or pale malt, which I am familiar with because they're the like lighter colored one. IPAs, now this is just kind of what you think of when you think of like a
Oh,
brewery. It's just an
I can't
IPA,
stand
right? So it's a
IPAs.
pale malt, high hop content. So very strong, basically.
To me, IPAs are like drinking potpourri water. Can't do it. It just it tastes like you took potpourri. It took like potpourri from your grandma's house, boiled it in water to get all the flavor out, dumped it, let it cool, and put it up and made it cold. You're drinking it. It is all IPAs, and this is in here. All IPAs is pale malt, a high hop content, right? So it's just like a pale ale, usually pale malt,
Yep.
and it's so I gotta go a little history real quick. Sorry. So IPA,
Okay.
it's IPA is Indian Pale Ale. So what that came about is colonization is why it happened. So
Of course.
they had pale ales, and when England colonized or not colonized, like took over India, the army there had their pale ales for their beer, and it was going bad because it's hotter in India than it is in
Wow.
England. So they were
Right.
having problems with it spoiling, going bad in the heat. So they found that they just like put a shit ton of hops. It would help. It would help stabilize, and it wouldn't go bad as fast. So
Oh,
IPA is an pale ale because England was doing atrocities in India, and they wanted their beer to last longer.
that is
So that's
fascinating.
why it tastes like a potpourri water, is because it's just a it's hops, which is the flower, and I'm
Oh,
probably saying that wrong, but it's the plant.
oh my
It's the
God.
bud of the hop. It's the plant, just a in a bunch of water, and it's gross. What is wrong with you people?
Free water. Oh, oh God. That was a good one.
Okay,
I love when
sorry,
David gets fired up.
I couldn't help myself.
There's brown ale, which is similar to porter,
Right,
which was one of the
right.
lagers,
It's just
the
basically
roasted.
it's right. It's a roasted malts, but instead it's using a top fermentation instead of
Right.
bottom fermentation.
So fascinating that it makes a completely different thing. So crazy. There are wheat ales, very little hops, use mainly wheat as it's a malt.
That's what I have
So,
here. It's a Weiss,
okay,
which is a wheat. It's American
so
wheat.
light.
It's very
Mhm.
ales you'll find tend to be your typical like light color.
Right. Hmm.
Pilsner, I think pilsners are a lighter color, but they're a lager.
Hmm.
Budweiser is a lager. Um,
Okay.
but that's because also it's not using. If you look at the stout and the porter, they're roasted, where pilsner's not roasted. That's why you get the brown versus clear versus
Right.
yellow. The ales, it's also tends to be a little sweeter.
Oh,
This is actually it's
interesting.
actually really sweet. It's actually more of wheats are more of a sweeter beer.
Okay. All right. I think the only beer I ever liked was a blueberry one. And that says everything you need to know about me.
Yeah. You
A
actually might like a
sour
wheat. It's actually pretty sweet.
beer. You love a sour beer.
I like
Ugh.
sour beers.
They use mild yeast. Oof. I'm not big into sour in general.
Yeah.
So,
I
I
love
mean,
sour.
combo those together and I just want to throw up, but you love it.
It's the same thing with red. I wonder if it's a combination with like black coffee and sour and
Okay.
like red wines because those are all very bitter and very kind of like
Yes, you love the bitter
tangy.
sourness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love sour candy. I love sour beers.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's very true. And I don't. I like sweets.
yeah. You actually might like a wheat beer because it's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, wheats tend to be a little more like citrusy, and a
Love
sweet
that.
citrus, like orangey type of citrusy, and sweet and stuff, and have a sweetness to them.
Okay.
But it's not
As
the
we're
Moscato.
finishing up, I have to try my second wine real quick here. My jam jar wine.
Jam jar. Jam jar.
It's the most basic label, which we talked about how if you put a lot of effort into your label, you put a lot of effort into your wine. It's basic. There's nothing fancy about it. But for some reason, I was like, I like that name. I don't know what it is. It got me, but look how
Basic.
pale that is.
Wow.
That's even, yeah, that's lighter than the other one.
Basic labels attract basic bitches. Oh.
I am a basic bitch.
Yeah. So am I.
Except
So
I don't like pumpkin spice.
See, I'm basic as fuck.
Yeah, I
So
know.
I do. I made pumpkin spice a simple syrup for putting
I
in
know
drinks
you
and
did.
stuff.
I
should use
don't.
that sometime.
I haven't had one yet. This year probably won't. I prefer like if we're talking about holiday drinks, I prefer like a peppermint more than a
Oh yeah.
pumpkin.
Ooh, peppermint simple syrup.
Um, Wendy's just came out with something we can't have, but let's talk about the flavor at least. They came out with their first new flavor of their Frosties ever, and it's peppermint. Yo, dude, listen. You're gonna what? That's the choice you make? You skipped over the pumpkin spice and just went straight to peppermint ice cream?
I don't. Yeah.
No. That sounds
I'm
repulsive.
trying to look for the peppermint chocolate soy milk because Silk used to make it. They don't make it anymore. So I'm trying to find that again.
Okay. Oh my, jam jar. Wait a minute.
That's your Moscato, isn't it?
Oh, that is good.
Would you define that as grapefruity and musky?
Not grapefruity, no, but very fruity.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yes, I'm excited about that one. I like the jam jar more than the simple grape.
Yeah.
It's a little sweeter. That's probably why.
Probably why.
Okay, so we want to hear what you guys like to drink. Of course, we want to hear about certain brands because we're always looking for new brands to try. So if you know of a beer, a liquor, or wine, or whatever champagne that's vegan that you think we should try, you have to let us know. And how do you do that? You message us on Facebook or Instagram at The Average Vegans. You can email us at theaveragevegans@gmail.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocketcast, or wherever you get your podcast sticks. Make sure to leave us a review, please. Please. I need a review so bad. And recommend us to everyone, friends, family, coworkers, the delivery driver. You will find show notes, links, and more at our website, theaveragevegans.com. Of course, we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear about your favorite liquors, your favorite wine, your favorite beer, but we also want to hear about your vegan story, your favorite vegan treats, any episode ideas you have, all that stuff. So send us a message. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. And that's it for this week.
And as of now, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell all down below. All right. Until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.